1630. Take the lactate tablet. 1700. Eat the Gotta Have It Cold Stone Creamery founder's favorite. If you do not follow these instructions to the letter, you will shit your panties right off. I'm just Cullen, next to a gassy, spooky Maddie, and this is Anomalous.
I didn't need you telling the world I'm gassy, but I guess this is what I get for all last night being like, Beyblade, let it rip, and then farting.
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving, y'all.
It's Thanksgiving, y'all. And we're doing our first, full holidays over at each other's families. And she was really pushing us to leave my dad's house for fear that she would Beyblade let one rip in front of him.
Yep.
Did you try to sneak them out while he was playing guitar?
No, I was clenching like my life depended on it.
And it did.
It did. That's why I do squats, for the clench power. I'm clenching as we speak.
If you can hold a fart in while doing a deep squat, you can hold a fart in any scenario.
Yeah, I don't need the whole world knowing about my... I'm lactose intolerant, if you haven't got the picture.
We've talked about this several times on this podcast.
Yes.
Many times. It's become a staple.
Yeah, it's just like, let nature do its work.
It would be a story of our podcast if the only explanation wasn't just take the lactate pills. They don't make the food taste worse.
Yeah, but I'm in it for the full experience.
On our way
I'm in it to win it.
On our way home, you're looking at the side of your Dunkin' Donuts and you're like, ooh, whole milk. And then you just sucked it down. We were 2 minutes away from the house. You could have had a pill.
Ice drinks are easy to suck down. That's a spooky Maddie fact. Thank you for joining us on Anomalous, where we talk about all things that don't make sense. Why don't I just take the lactate pill if I know I'm going to have a terrible night? Sometimes a terrible weekend.
Yeah.
It is Thanksgiving rounds about when we are recording this, so I'm just going to say, pay your local indigenous person. Get their PayPal, pay them.
Just pay them.
Donate to some, indigenous charities and such. Drives. Nice. Remember the reason for the season, and that is respecting indigenous people and giving them their land back and reparations.
The reason for the season was thanking other white people for their efforts to take over the country. I'm thankful to you, Josiah, for smacking that Indian directly in his head. I'm thankful to you, Josephine, for just sort of setting up a house on someone else's land with a shrug and a smile. And I'm going to say, because this is going to come out around the beginning of December, for Christmas, high five a pagan. Because we kind of jacked that from them. But in a way, they won.
You're saying high five a pagan for Christmas, but high five a white person who's punched a Native American?
I never ever said that. I said, PayPal an indigenous person. Just high five
a pagan.
Exactly correct.
For Christmas. The reason for the season. Today we will be talking about the lead mask case of Vintem Hill.
Classic.
So the lead masks of Vintem Hill is among the most perplexing unsolved mysteries of all time. With just a few more details or a few less, the story would simply be the tragic death of two bright young men. Instead, the actual facts lead to eerie explanations that span cultism, aliens, counterculture, pseudoscience, and conspiracy. So let's strap in.
Strap on.
What? Why? Come on.
It's just the vibe.
No, what do you mean? What does that mean?
Anyway, let's get into the story.
Oh my gosh. So the facts of the case. This story begins on Saturday, the 20th of August in 1966, in the town of Niterói in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. A local boy was out flying his kite on the unusually warm winter day. Some discrepancies, he could have been anywhere from a boy, teenager, to a young man.
Seems like the confusion might be that he's 18, and depending on how much of a pervert you are, that's either a boy or a man.
For sure.
Also, I'm confused immediately. There's going to be a lot of obscuring facts in this already. As a resident of Tucson, Arizona, what does it mean to have an unusually warm winter day? Does that mean 110?
Yeah, I think 110 instead of our typical 106 high for November 23rd. Ugh. So mid-frolic, this boy noticed what he thought were clothes on the ground in the distance.
Ooh, clothes.
Yeah, there's so many of these cases that's like, oh, what's that? Let me investigate.
Let me check that out. Ooh, as I venture closer, I'm starting to get the smell of death, but I still see the clothes.
I don't understand that. Like, mind your business, honestly.
Find clothes, leave them. Leave them where they are.
Yes. Upon closer inspection, he found that it was actually the bodies of two young men laying in the tall grass in full suits with lead masks covering their eyes.
Bad ass visual. And
Yeah.
I think the reason why this case is as big as it is, because imagine just going through like the swampy post heavy rain hills of Brazil, just chilling, flying a kite with the boys, and then you see two guys in like full suits with ties, I believe, and raincoats just laying there, just dead under a tree.
Yeah, both
miles
laying,
away from the city.
I think if I can remember, they were both lying just like face up right next to each other.
Yeah,
Or am I
just
making-
staring at the sky. And some
Yeah.
reports say that they were laying on, not beds really, but someone had cut some of the tall grass and laid it down under them as padding.
So the police were informed that day about the bodies, but they weren't able to investigate until early the following morning. Oh, I thought that was a snore. You're like, snooze fast, get to the aliens. No, yeah, oink oink,
Oink,
ACAB baby.
Even, I guess especially in Brazil.
Everywhere, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard the South American police are pretty...
I checked out their Yelp. Not very high star rating for South American police.
Yeah, so actually, in that vein of ACAB, an officer was actually informed of the bodies by another boy 2 days before, but he didn't
was
report
just
it or investigate it.
Yeah, you hear about two corpses from a boy, and
Yeah.
you're just like, probably not.
You're
Kids
just-
and their stories.
You're just like, let me finish my donut.
Oh,
Fuck the police.
Oh, baby boy found two corpses out in the field. Let me play this little tiny violin. Oh, sorry, that's just the sound of me eating a donut.
Oink, oink.
Yeah, and there was an investigation into him. They were seeing if he had been like, oh, it's nothing with the corpses. Oh, they're in full suits. Don't worry about it, kid. Just go home. And then at night, he up the hill, looted them.
Oh my goodness.
But they didn't find
Honestly.
any serious evidence of that having happened.
Fair enough. So the scene didn't initially give police much to work with. This is reminiscent of the Istal woman and the Somerton man, which is like these just dead bodies kind of laying out there, rest in peace, much respect, but just like clues that are not helpful. They're just kind of like weird, you know?
Yeah, they
It's
raise
like,
a lot
great.
more questions than they answer.
Yes, for sure. The men had very little in the way of personal possessions and valuables. They were in suits, full suits, and raincoats. And there was an empty water bottle and a package beside them. Inside the package, there were 2 wet towels. In one of the man's pocket, there was a small notebook. The small notebook contained a coded list of electronic components and a circuit equation. However, all accounts point out one specific passage, and that is, quote, 1630, be at the specified location. 1830, ingest capsules. After the effect, protect metals, await signal mask. We'll see, not only is that a majority of the information we have, like...
It's a majority of the theories. More or
Yeah,
less.
yeah, so sit on that little note for a while.
And there was another passage, but before we get into that, I like to note there's a lot of confusion. When I originally heard about the case, they said that the other information in their notebooks was like code of some sort, but it seems like it was actually just components that they were looking for because they were, as they'll be identified in a moment, they were electronic repairmen or technicians. So they were just buying electronic components. But if you don't know that, if you don't know that, it looks like code.
Oh yeah, for sure. If I were to see, like, I look at the instructions for the light bulb and I'm like, what is this magic code from an alien?
They literally just had down P equals IV as the equation. And you're like, This is aliens for
Oh,
sure.
this is impossible. So as Colin said, there was a less commonly known second sheet that read, quote, Sunday, 1 tablet after the meal. Monday, 1 tablet in the morning on an empty stomach. Tuesday, 1 tablet after a meal. Wednesday, 1 tablet before going to bed.
It should be noted, it's believed that Wednesday in reference is the Wednesday that they went to Vintem Hill and seemingly died.
Very, very interesting. So yeah, most notably, and the namesake for the case, of course, the men were both wearing crude lead masks that covered their eyes. The masks themselves were roughly cut and most likely from sheet metal. It would have been impossible for the users to see through them.
They basically look like if you took just the front of a pair of Ray-Bans and that was made out of metal.
Yeah, for sure.
And nothing to see through. There's no slits or anything.
So I would definitely recommend searching an image of like the sketches and stuff of their lead masks. It's kind of giving me D.B. Cooper with the sunglasses vibes.
I could see that, yeah. Pretty cool of them, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, once again, it would have been impossible for them to see through these sheets of lead.
They've got real good eyes.
Superman with the laser vision.
I've got 20/20 through a sheet of lead.
That's impressive.
Very impressive.
Though they were commonly called masks, the lead pieces didn't protect really any of the face except for the eyes. So, yeah, if you Google it, it'll kind of just look like huge sunglasses made of metal.
And again, very rough cut. It's clearly done in some home workshop.
Mm-hmm. So the bodies were given to the Rio de Janeiro coroner, but he was so busy that the examination was pushed back for weeks.
Yeah, you don't want to be the newest person on the list with the Rio de Janeiro coroner.
No.
Because they've got a ton of bodies to check out, and, I'm going to say maybe they're making a couple and adding them to the list.
I'm just can't stop, won't stop, get guap, 10 white toes and the toy flip-flop, manicure and pedicure song.
It's just the coroner vibing out to that song while the bodies rot. They didn't even have room for them in the morgue. So they were just sort of sitting out non-preserved, which becomes a problem really quickly because the note they found refers to tablets. Yeah. But with the 3 days out in the rain, because it seems that they died 3 days before they were found, and with several weeks just sitting in the Rio heat, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Their guts were a gumbo of sorts. They did some toxicology tests according to some sources, but it didn't come back with anything conclusive because you're basically just taking a spoonful of a human bread bowl at this point and throwing it into a centrifuge.
Yeah, and you would think after that long, the substance that may have been going through their body would have degraded. That's a pretty typical scenario with a lot of big unsolved cases. It's like unsolved due to shitty police work.
Oh, yeah.
A toxicology report was never completed, leaving the tablets from the note a mystery. So we'll get into it. You can assume it says, take some tablets, and then they were dead. But
that seems pretty clear.
Yeah. But we'll never know for sure. And
what they are.
Yeah.
If they were anything.
Exactly. So in regards to the 2 bodies that were found, there were no injuries or sign of a struggle found on the men, but once again, the delayed autopsy made solid conclusions impossible. Ultimately, the death was marked as cardiac arrest from causes unknown.
As far as I can tell, and I'm not a huge expert on unsolved mysteries, it seems like cardiac arrest, cause unknown, is one step above cause unknown.
Yeah, the cause of death would be cardiac arrest, and then the manner would be unknown. So I studied forensics.
Oh my god.
So manner would be suicide, homicide, accident. In this case, it seems it would be unknown.
Interesting.
It doesn't seem like they were stabbed or shot or anything.
Yeah, there's no distinct physical injuries like signs of struggle or burns or anything like that.
Yeah, and the police were able to identify the men. They were Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel Jose Viana.
That one was good.
Yeah, the first one was too.
Yeah, you did a good job on both. I should create a theme for that section. It's like a Price is Right-esque theme for Maddie having to do names.
Honestly. Have you been mixing up the Prices Right and Jeopardy all morning? Because I think you have been.
Probably.
Cool.
What's the difference? It's just white people asking each other questions and then handing money around.
That's true. So Manuel and Miguel were electronic technicians from Campos dos Goytacazes.
Ooh, let's just keep that one.
Goytacazes, which was a town that was actually 4-hour drive from where they were found.
Yeah, according to Google Maps. So in 1966, I don't know, 5
That's
hours?
fair.
They took the bus, though.
Yeah, I was going to say. In the days following the discovery of Miguel and Manuel's bodies, police were able to piece together a timeline of events of how they got there. So on August 17th, which was 3 days before their discovery, Manuel and Miguel set out from their hometown by bus to Niterói. They had withdrawn a large sum from their business account, which may have been for buying electronic components, thus the list in their notebook. So in addition to stocking up on components, the men told their families that they were planning to buy a used VW sedan. Seemed like a big shopping trip in the city.
That's fun for them. That's fun for Manuel and Miguel.
That's exciting. That's always fun.
You know they're a good duo. Just their names fit together. They're like a pair of boys out having an adventure.
Cullen and Colin.
Who's Colin?
I don't know, but you should make a brand name Colin so you can have good boys' adventures. Shopping. Boys be shopping.
Boys be shopping.
So when the pair arrived in Niterói, they bought raincoats and bottles of water.
I think one of them bought a bottle of water at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a small detail that might come up later. You know the hipster bullshit where you like buy a big gallon jug of like lemonade, and if you bring the bottle back, they'll give you a little bit of money back, and you sort of feel like you're not in a dense city made out of complete garbage, consuming every single day of your life. Well, there was a similar thing. He bought like a bottle of water, and it was glass, and he took the receipt that he would need to like give the bottle back to the bar or whoever and get his deposit back. So like if you're doing that, maybe that rules out some suicidal intentions later on in the story.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That's tenuous for me.
To me, this isn't very mysterious at all. It seems like super run-of-the-mill. Telling their families we're going to go to the city, buy some very city things like electronic parts for our business, a car for our business. They get there, get some water and some raincoats. So far, nothing seems out of the ordinary.
Classic city things. When I go up to big old Phoenix, capital of our hellhole, that's what I do. I buy a VW sedan, I buy a raincoat, which I'll never use in my entire life, bottle of water, so I don't die.
Yes.
And just I like to glue electronic components to myself and do the robot.
That's fun.
It is.
Of course, all this with perhaps the note already in their notebook. So, you know, well, we'll keep going. We'll see. So witnesses who saw them in Niterói said that the men appeared agitated and paranoid. They would be constantly checking their watches. Other witnesses said they were just like looking around, maybe seeing if there's someone following them. That's speculation, but pieced together with their notes that kind of say like, at this exact time, do this. I don't know.
Well, I have two boring just call-in ideas about how that could be nothing.
Oh.
Maybe they were meeting up with someone to buy components like in that bar. That could be the case. No one said they saw anyone, but there's not a whole lot in the way of eyewitness testimony, just like the basic things, like they were looking at their watch. Also, maybe they just weren't, like, super close or they had gotten in a fight. You know, like, where you're awkwardly, like, opening up your phone, you, like, the lock screen, you unlock it and then just stare at your app screen for a second. Put it back in your pocket, you sort of look around. Because you don't want to look just, like, at them the whole time.
Yeah, I don't really buy anything you just said.
Right.
But that could be the case, you know, if they're waiting to buy these things off of specific people. I don't know. The last witnesses to see the men say that they were in the back of a Jeep.
Jeep? Oh, fuck! We just invented new rap lingo. You got the drip in the Jeep.
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 Did I invent new rap lingo yesterday when it was my first time hanging out with your dad and I wanted to say the meat was good and the beef was good, so I said the meef was good?
Oh, it's a hell of a story.
Meef!
Now, let's see if I buy the $500 auto-tune required to auto-tune me saying dreep. Dreep! I didn't.
Meef!
Now I need to buy it.
Now you have to, by law.
Donate to my PayPal and I'll auto-tune our first episode.
No, do not donate to a white man's PayPal. But our family PayPal is not completely...
Is this what you're pitching? Is this what you're pitching? Don't donate to the blind cancer patient's PayPal. Donate to yours.
He is blind and he does have cancer. So yeah, the last witness... Yeah, if that stirs you, if that really moves you, we will link his PayPal. If it doesn't stir or move you, fuck off, bitch.
If you're actually checking in the description of every episode for the PayPal, how have you not learned yet?
We never put the PayPal. I don't have a PayPal,
Neither do I
think.
Oh, I do.
I think I do, yeah.
What is this? This is the worst we've ever done.
Okay, so the last witness that we known to have seen them said that the men were in the back of a Jeep driven by two unidentified men.
It blows my mind that we said dreep on accident 15 minutes ago. So they were never seen again, and the witness says that they were kind of headed in the direction of Bintam Hill, and police believe they went directly there. But it's extremely difficult for that to be, like, a fact.
Yeah, so the police speculated that they were headed towards Bintam Hill, but it is not known for sure. We just have these four men in a Jeep.
Having a hell of a time.
Having a hell of a time. Does kind of line up with what could have been they were looking for a car or transportation, but that was the last any witnesses had ever seen them.
That concludes the facts that we have about the actual series of events of what happened to lead up to them being on Bintam Hill, but there's some very interesting background on Miguel and Manuel and possibly a community that they were a part of.
Kind of going into our theories, why they were there, why they died, and what their notes could have meant. One big theory is regarding like the scientific spiritualist movement.
It seems like a very, very 1960s blend of science, because that age was interested in the space race and sci-fi and everything, mixed with post-World War II revival in spiritualism and religion. Mm-hmm. So it's them trying to mix together their electronics backgrounds and technology with trying to contact spirits or possibly aliens. Mars, definitely.
That is kind of what it sounds like, trying to mix science with spiritualism. Not only religion, but also, like...
a broader spiritualism.
Yes. Some sources say that Manuel and Miguel were a part of this scientific spiritualist collective. So the group was apparently popular with the electronic technicians in the region.
Fun crowd. I know a lot of electronic engineers, and you know what? They're killer party goers.
Damn. So, according to a friend of the pair, the group was focused on contacting otherworldly beings. So, aliens, non-corporeal, higher life forms. It's fun. Am I a scientific spiritualist?
You don't want to build a iPhone that's capable of calling a ghost. Like, that's not your approach to it.
That's fair.
That's what the 1960s science-obsessed, space race, sci-fi nerds were into. They were like, what if we built a device, possibly radioactive, that's able of just sort of sending a pager message to Mars?
Yeah, that's fair.
You're more like, let me have this man-made crystal on a chain and wave it around my hand, child.
Mm-hmm, yeah. The necklace test. Google it. If you're a woman, it will show you how many kids you're going to have, and we're going to have one boy and one girl. Perfect.
Are we, though? Because there's still debate in your family about which is circles and which is lines.
Okay, well, regardless, we're going to have a boy and a girl. We just don't know what order.
Yeah. Really, that confusion between you guys throws a bit of shade on the entire idea, on the entire practice.
If I was an electrical engineer, I would make an iPhone that calls ghosts.
Oh, anyone would. I thought I thought you were mad at me for making fun of the necklace test, and you were gonna be like,
I would shock you.
If I was an electrical engineer, I would create a home quote unquote mistake that electrocutes you.
Oh my god, electric chair. No, but I do kind of believe that we just don't have the technology yet to contact. But I'm not doing shit about it. Whereas these people were apparently trying to create these devices.
Right.
So the group even constructed a machine in a member's backyard to somehow help make contact with the beings and possibly with Mars.
And it just sort of blew up.
Yeah.
It just sort of exploded.
Unfortunately, it exploded 2 months before the men were found.
I'm going to go ahead and always, as I do, claim just sort of incompetence. But, you know, if you're having fun with it, maybe the Martians overloaded it and blew it up or something like that. Marvin's he's a real stickler.
He's a douche.
Oh my god, now you got Marvin the Martian coming after us.
No. Yeah, I feel like maybe in our time, we're not going to get there. To like technology that's able to prove ghosts or to make contact with other beings.
Yeah, it could even be considered, I guess, arrogant for humans to think that spirits and God, etc., are not so esoteric that we can't reach them, you know? Like that we're so great that one day we'll create an iPhone powerful enough to call God.
Hey, God.
What up?
Yeah, that's why I don't think there's a chance in our lifetime. It's definitely arrogant of these guys.
Yeah, 1966. Come on.
Come on.
What were we still figuring out back then? The fucking microwave?
Honestly, the TVs weren't even flat screen, so...
Yeah, they were like curved screen. But not in the cool way that's popular now.
Yeah, so some reports said that the Scientific Spiritualist Collective, they're making these machines, and some also report that the group use hallucinogenics to facilitate their efforts. It's a possibility that those were contained in the tablets that these men were supposed to be taking. Especially interesting the note that's like, take these every day. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're on like a little hallucinogenic schedule.
It isn't at all unheard of for people to take psychedelics in order to facilitate spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
Even in the new age, killing your ego is a good thing and doesn't like, hurt your brain. That is just another version of it that's very popular nowadays. But it's been a thing for literally thousands of years.
Even in the Old Testament, Moses burning bush.
Set his lady's bush on fire.
Oh my god.
Yeah, just do it quickly.
What?
Yeah, have you seen those videos of the Middle Eastern barber technique where they like shave you and then they put fire to like burn off the rest of it?
I would not do that.
As a person who has tried to look down the stem of an oil lamp while it's on, the smell of burning hair is not pleasant.
Oh, no.
You shouldn't have put it on a table low enough a kid can, like, look over it.
Oof. Yeah, so could have been the tablets were hallucinogenics.
I'm going to go ahead and say that they definitely were.
The only thing is... I'm not sure that those were the very last tablets they took, because it wouldn't have killed them. I'm
going to say that they definitely were taking drugs of some kind to facilitate. But what the last tablet was specifically is still in question. That's very fair to say.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Obviously, they didn't, presumably, if they were taking the tablets at these, like, daily intervals, and they didn't die, that makes sense that it would be like hallucinogenics, at least for those first few, but perhaps not the last one. Probably not the last one, is what my opinion is.
They could have been Lactaid.
Why would you take Lactaid?
All right.
Yeah, so they did contact aliens.
Could have been.
Yeah, so it could be their device to contact the aliens or whatever beings worked, and they went to Vintem Hill to make first contact.
No one can see the cheeky smile you give me when you say human beings. They just think maybe you misspoke. They don't understand that you're doing it and then giving me a little smile.
A little smile, a little bean smile.
She's got a bunch of beans for teeth.
Ew.
Yeah.
Maybe it did work. Maybe it was the aliens that were giving them these instructions, or the other beings told them to go to this hill, take a tablet. It reminds me, is it like Heaven's Gate? Like taking drugs or put themselves to the brink of death/death to contact otherworldly beings.
Right. And it could be that the last tablet wasn't a hallucinogen, that it was a suicide pill. Because maybe they were leaving their body behind, Heaven's Gate-esque.
Yeah.
Another theory, however, is if we're going down the alien route that they actually did make contact, it could be they went with the aliens and their bodies had to stay behind.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. That's bullshit. It's led to a lot of needless death in cults. That entire idea. But if you really want to entertain that, understand that it's a dangerous thing to propagate, but I guess it could happen in Funland.
Yeah, with all these things, don't let it put your life in jeopardy, put your happiness in jeopardy. Get some help.
Don't take a suicide pill to meet an alien. Just get like the little eraser alien that we have. He lives inside of a geode. Hello, I'm Xanthar, and this is my first day on Earth.
I love it.
She loves the voice so much.
Yeah, and if these are triggering, if these episodes talks about, get some help, call some numbers. But it is possible that their attempt to make contact was to end their own life. But it could also be possible that they actually did make contact.
So to delve a little bit more into alien possibilities, or the idea that they actually did make contact, they could have been prepping for it. The police found tools inside of their houses to have fashioned the lead masks, so it confirms that they basically made them at home. And they found scripture or readings or whatever that they were studying that said the beings they were going to come into contact with would be
put out an intense luminosity.
Right. So they might have fashioned the masks in order to protect against that intense luminosity, and that would explain why it only covers the eyes.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. If they're trying to contact these beings that either they themselves or like their technology puts out like a huge blinding light, no sunglasses will do. So maybe they put on made these lead masks to protect their eyes to perhaps make contact with them or be able to see them.
It's like when I wander into a Target 5 minutes before they're supposed to close and just look at all of the huge candy bars that they have for Christmas. The beating down lights are just too intense for my late night snack vibes.
Yeah, very bright. Target's very bright.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so this could have all been in preparation to meet with some otherworldly or other realm beings that their group either had made contact with or would like to.
And there is even a little bit more perhaps to support that there was an alien contact. There were some witnesses that were reported in newspapers in the following months that said that they saw a spheroid orange light floating above Vintem Hill that night. It should be noted, and we'll cover more stories about this in the future, Brazil is a hotspot for UFO activity.
Yeah.
It's almost your responsibility to look into the recent activity that Brazil has had and the very serious reactions that the military in Brazil has had to them.
Yeah, so if there really ever was a spot to contact aliens, there are a lot of strange phenomena that happen in Brazil.
Right.
On a more boring idea, they could have bought into it because of that culture, because of the whole country just kind of being like, well, there's a lot of UFOs we see every day, which there are some other theories that are not as fun. So we could get into the fork in the road between boring and fun.
I'll say, first of all, as just Cullen, aliens are nonsense, but I love sci-fi so much that I have to at least be like, if they were making first contact and had devised these masks and did it on that hill, that'd be sick as fuck.
Would be sick. Yeah, so a more boring option was that they were involved in all of this, but they didn't end up making contact, and they died of natural causes. Could have been an overdose from the tablet they ingested to help the experience. I think that is a very widely believed theory.
It's pretty much the one I subscribe to, is that they took too high of a dose. It explains why they're laying out, possibly on high grass beds that they made. It explains their regiment of building up to it with the different doses. And it explains that they seem to have been expecting to go back. They were expecting to turn the water bottle back, maybe. That's tiny. But before he had left, he had talked to a family member at the bus stop who had seen him there and, like, caught him in a lie, technically. Fun scenario. But he was like, I'm going to make some leaps and bounds in scientific spiritualism. So it seemed like he was planning to come back with his findings.
I guess this theory would kind of be like accidental, an accidental perhaps overdose. Also perhaps accidentally they took the pills and maybe they were unconscious or incapacitated and stuck in the rain, especially laying down like supine. Maybe they like drowned.
Possibly. I think they could have died of exposure. There was extremely heavy rain and it was winter in the southern hemisphere. It was winter where they were. It seems possible to me. And with the incompetence in everything with this story, it's also possible that they aspirated.
Yeah. It's also possible that they took these pills very purposefully and died by suicide.
That is, definitely another option, as we went into earlier with different cults that try to reach the next level with suicide.
To me, it doesn't seem like these two really did intend to die by suicide.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more shaky on that theory.
Yeah.
I don't think they were stargazing, I'll tell you that.
What?
I don't know, I was just trying to bring some levity to it.
Okay.
Now that we've covered the fucking cool, interesting side of it, the real explanations that could have happened, I guess we'll do the... technically the fun side of the fork in the road. Yeah. What if it was true?
Yeah, so what if they really did make contact? As Cullen alluded to, 2 newspapers reported multiple witnesses that claimed they saw an orange spheroid of light hovering over Vintem Hill on the night of Manuel and Miguel's death.
Which is pretty cool.
And to boot, which we did talk about, Brazil has historically been a hotspot for UFO sightings. Literally for as long as they've had history up until present day. Yeah. Something interesting to look into. So a number of things could have happened if Manuel and Miguel actually did make contact, and especially, presumably, on that last day.
But it can all really be boiled down to they'd have a great time.
They were just having a bit of a fun one.
You're not gonna meet aliens and just be like,
Oh, yeah. I don't even know if my mind would be able to comprehend.
Well, that might be one of the problems that we're facing here.
What?
With Miguel and Manuel, why they
I was like, that me and you are facing? Well, are you an alien?
We're recording a podcast about a story where you guys...
I'm like, wait, what?
No. What could have gone wrong?
Yeah, so perhaps the extraterrestrials, these otherworldly beings, killed them, unfortunately.
You get murked by a UFO.
Deaths associated with UFO sightings and abductions are pretty rare.
They're really rare. There's a lot of abduction stories, but like as far as someone being killed by a UFO, not really any evidence for that at all.
It's not their vibe.
No, it's not. But a drive-by by a UFO would be pretty sick. Them leaning out of the rolled down dome window.
Oh.
Gatting down Miguel and Manuel. Get off our turf.
Gat, gat.
Gat, gat, gat. That's what the aliens sound like. Their guns sound like pow, pow, pow.
The aliens are just like gat, gat, gat. Yeah, so, if you're an unsolved mystery head like myself, there have been a lot of disappearances kind of linked. People speculate UFOs. Not a lot of deaths in terms of the entirety of unsolved deaths. It really doesn't seem like their vibes. And there's a lot of people who have, survived abductions.
And if you talk about any unsolved mystery for long enough, someone will speculate UFOs.
Yeah. I don't know if we're ever going to get into disappearances, but there's a super popular disappearance of Mara Murray. Probably rest in peace. But it got so much coverage that it got to the point where people were like, a bear kidnapped her to be the bear queen of the mountains.
That's awesome.
I mean, that would be a great scenario.
I think if that was the plot of Revenant, I think De Niro wouldn't have even been nervous he wouldn't get the Oscar.
He'd just DiCaprio.
Fuck. DiCaprio. I think DiCaprio wouldn't even be concerned he would get the Oscar. He'd just be like, I got abducted by a bear in this movie and became its little son. Give me the tiny, shiny man, please.
Of course. Best performance of all time. So, if they made contact and the aliens didn't kill them, which I would like to give the aliens the benefit of the doubt, perhaps they were really still underprepared to meet these higher forms of life and succumb to a sort of exposure. They were preparing to encounter something with these lead masks that they made to protect themselves. However, as we kind of got into, they weren't like OSHA grade lead masks.
I don't think OSHA has a lead mask policy particularly. They're not going to protect anything at all. They're going to protect your eyes from a single angle. I took a single class in nuclear engineering. Mm-hmm. Halfway through the semester, I went into office hours and he said, "There's no way you passed this. You skipped 6 weeks of class." And I said, "Oh, sir, but I shall get a D." And so I did.
That's a goddamn.
That's a goddamn.
I thought you were going to say, like, and 6 weeks in, you were exposed to radiation with lead masks.
That's why I skipped those 6 weeks. Those are when he touches you with a radioactive element. Anyway, radiation goes everywhere and bounces off of everything, and it's maybe they literally knew nothing about radiation, but if they were expecting to face that, a lead mask like that doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, so could have been they just knew the site would be like a bright light, like a huge illuminating light.
So bright that they have to look through solid metal.
Yeah, could have been something more that maybe... You know, it wasn't just a really bright light. Maybe they really weren't prepared with their lead eye masks and they couldn't survive contact. Could have been burned or like radiation burns.
Right.
The coroner didn't mark any injuries, didn't notice any burns, but...
Check the Yelp score.
True.
The coroner wasn't exactly batting 1,000.
Yeah.
He could have missed some radiation poisoning or burns.
And it had been a while, so I think that's definitely possible. Maybe some sort of other world or in another galaxy or universe if life isn't carbon-based and they have some, like, crazy ass chemicals. You know.
Yeah, maybe.
Just gonna mention really fast, there have been some theories about the lead masks. Like maybe they got lead poisoning. So like the podcast Skeptoid, I believe saying something about them constantly working with lead and their lead masks. Perhaps poisoning them.
Skeptoid podcast, first of all, thank you for your article. Second, there are in the threads on different forums I read about this entire case. Every time they were mentioned, it just revealed how my brain is not wired to enjoy unsolved mysteries like yours is. Because every time there'd be like, Skeptoid podcast did a really good episode on this. Really raised a lot more questions than it answered. And then there'd be like 5 replies where they're like, love that podcast.
Yeah, you're like, how is that good? How is that?
Answer the questions. Don't ask more.
Honestly. That's the opposite of a good accomplishment. Honestly. Seems like you made it worse.
Yeah, you made the mystery more.
Yeah. Perhaps if you want to get some actual good in-depth coverage of this case.
Let's
We're
keep
having
listening.
fun with it. Yeah, nice.
You want to get some more in-depth coverage of everything Vintem Hell? Keep on listening.
Oh yeah. Good save. So there's another theory. It's less talked about, less accepted. Manuel and Miguel could have been victims of foul play.
Yes, it is a common theory there are a couple routes that could have taken.
Mm-hmm. So it is theorized that the men could have been robbed and then killed for their like money or possessions.
Not to speak ill of Rio de Janeiro, but check the Yelp reviews.
Oh my god. Tread carefully.
In Rio de Janeiro.
Oh my, it's like that time I was like, let's go to Cuba, and you literally looked at the Yelp reviews.
I did, and you know what they said? It's not 5 stars.
This theory struggles to hold weight. Since the coroner didn't find really any signs of foul play, they were also still, like, completely dressed. I don't know if anyone would want to steal, like, a suit off of a body you stabbed. But they had their watches, and they did have cash on them.
a small amount, but still cash. But they didn't have the large sum that they left with, which is notable.
Yeah, but obviously they could have been spending it on the 2 guys in their van, their Jeep.
Yeah, it is a lot of money, though.
Anything's possible. But hold on. Allow us to give you the dumbest version of this theory.
I'm mad about this one. I'm really salty about this one.
So the men were attempting to construct a new device to continue their scientific spiritualist work after their first project exploded. Could be that they met up with the seller to try to buy radioactive material for that purpose. However, little did they know the seller could have been a con man. The theory goes that they brought the lead masks for radiation protection when inspecting what they bought. Then perhaps the seller offered them quote-unquote anti-radiation pills, which they took. The pills, however, were not anti-radiation pills, they were poison, and the con man took off with their money.
I hate it. It's not a good theory. Everyone keeps talking about it. There's many theories where the seller, well, I'm lumping all of them in to they were tricked into taking poison pills so as to be robbed.
I have heard that.
How is that a thing?
Well, you're saying they had large sums of money, and especially if it was like they're trying to get radioactive materials or something. I don't know. Seems like a big purchase.
There's so many holes in the entire thing. If they were looking at radioactive materials, they understand that they can't see that through a sheet of lead. I mean, clearly, if they know that lead stops radiation, they would cut holes to look through. Also, why, if someone was going to murder and rob them, if they were already gonna, kill them, just shoot them, stab them. Not to belabor the Yelp reviews, but people get shot and stabbed in Brazil.
It could have been a long con. They could have known they were going to get these pills. Because my problem is if it were like a random, here, take these pills, it doesn't match with their notes that were specifically go to the hill, take these pills. But yeah, it could have been they made that plan after they met him and the pills were actually poison. I think it's possible.
The furthest extent I would take of foul play having to do with the pills being poisoned is the person that they got these tablets from had a bad batch and it was too heavy in something poisonous.
I don't know. People do crazy things for money.
I don't know. If I was gonna kill someone and then take the money they had, I'd probably right down.
Now that I'm thinking about it, the skeptoid thing might have been about radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
So that possibly, if they had, maybe it built up. So they had been working with radiation, like radioactive materials. Perhaps they died of radiation poisoning. I don't think the coroner would have spotted that. So another theory of all lame-ass skeptics, including
Bing!
Khalid,
Giving the wink.
Ball lightning.
Every story that's fun has to be ruined by a nerd saying, what if ball lightning?
Honestly.
That is the skeptic's version of a fun
Aliens.
sighting. Yeah. Because it is exceedingly rare. It's cool, but it has been spotted and happened. So the theory goes that maybe the ball that everyone saw above Vintem Hill was ball lightning. There were heavy rains, atmospheric conditions could have produced it maybe. Again, extremely rare phenomenon. And they're saying that the lead masks they wore could have drawn it to them, along with their height up on the hill.
No.
I'm going to go ahead and say no.
Yeah, nah.
Why would they both get struck?
Yeah.
It would hit one of them and the other one would be fine. It wouldn't hit both of them at the same time.
They're holding hands.
I'm not even sure that lead is a ferrous material that would draw lightning like that. And there was a tree somewhat nearby them. It would hit that because it's much higher.
No.
It doesn't make that much sense. However, ball lightning can be cool. It's just tainted by a bunch of nerds trying to explain every phenomenon with it.
Nerds. So this could just be completely because I'm spooky, but it seems like aliens are more plausible. Ball lightning doesn't line up with anything, any of the facts.
I refuse to say aliens are more plausible, but ball lightning is impossible, basically, so.
All right. So you have some other theories that maybe do you want to bring us?
Well, in your notes, when you do a Maddie theory, you highlight it and it's very cute. Mine is just coarsely underlined.
You rip through the page.
I'd really like you to deliver them so you can sort of if this gets clipped on some sort of internet show, you can sort of take the flak for it.
Oh my god. All right. So, once again, Cullen's theories. Perhaps Cold War agents? The image of the two bodies in full suits with almost no personal possessions on them, probably no IDs that I've heard of.
Not that I've heard of.
Cryptic set of time instructions definitely conjures up ideas of Cold War spies.
It has to, right?
It seems possible, or at least as possible as the other crap theory, that the two men were sleeper agents of some kind who were ordered to deactivate. Yeah, I have seen that. They were like agents, and so they took like a cyanide pill.
And really, is it that likely of a theory? Probably not. But did I spend a little sabbatical writing notes for just an hour looking through, are sleeper agents real? And then reading a bunch of stories about sleeper agents? Yes, I did. So, have to include it in the notes.
Are they?
Yeah, they're totally real.
Wait, so those are like agents who take
are
pills?
Implanted... No, sleeper agents are agents that are implanted in the other country for years at a time and masked as like deep covered naturalized citizens.
Interesting.
But there's really no evidence to ever say that they've been like quote unquote deactivated. And a sleeper agent is really just like a low level spy that collects information and sends it back. They're not Manchurian candidates, really.
Yeah, and they're not going to be like searching for aliens. However, there is some evidence to suggest that there was radio chatter from both the Brazilian Navy and Air Force that they were interested in their deaths.
They were interested in both this, and this might go to aliens. There was a light that Miguel and Manuel saw that shot up into the sky in Brazil that also pinged radio chatter from the Navy and Air Force. So if you want to believe that that is some sort of alien sighting, possibly, but the consensus seems to be that it was fireworks. But regardless, there were some not coded, but code-named figures talking over radio chatter that seemed to have been interested in the mysterious deaths of these two men.
Well, I could see them being interested in terms of like still with their contact with aliens.
Yeah, it
not like
been,
as an agent.
It could have been interested in that. It could have been interested in them being deactivated or some sort of espionage thing. It could have been interested in any sort of realm. I mean...
Like, they could have theorized that and been like, let me check.
Yeah.
That they weren't sleeper agents. Yeah, I don't think they were any type of agent. We have seen some unsolved cases. Once again, thinking like the Isdal woman. And in those cases, like, I don't think we would have been able to identify the men if
Most
they were
likely
agents.
Not. Yeah. I'm just gonna say, if you're more inclined to believe Cold War spy shenanigans, as I am, instead of aliens, here's a theory for you. And at least to me, it's as plausible as the first contact of aliens.
No.
Oh my god.
So Cullen also has another theory that the men were the ones being contacted, not the other way around. So they were kind of like reached out to. So maybe Manuel and Miguel were the ones being contacted by an entity and were brought to the scene by that entity. So in 1962, 4 years before the lead mask incident, one Hermes Luis Fietosa was found on a hill near Vintem.
I'd like to give you a round of applause. That was extremely impressive.
Thank you. Portuguese is close to Spanish.
It's also close to Russian, which is nonsense.
Are you allowed to say that?
That Russian's nonsense?
Yeah.
I think I'm obligated to say that.
Damn. So Hermes was also found dead near Vintem on a hill, and beside his body was a lead mask.
So it seems like maybe it fell off of his face.
Yeah. Reports say that he believed he could pick up radio signals with just the use of his mind. So sounds like it could have been unexplained external contact. So maybe he's not picking up earthly radio signals, but rather like he's being contacted.
It could be, and then we have like an ET scenario where it's, what if the thing that Manuel and Miguel were building in their background wasn't them trying to be able to contact aliens for the first time? It was instructions from aliens. Like when ET was making him build that massively radioactive interstellar communicator. That kid's, I mean, he had a nice childhood experience, but he's even more cancer-ridden than my removed testicle.
Damn. Rip Lefty.
Rip Lefty.
Yeah, that's...
If you'd like to donate to Lefty's PayPal.
Lefty's gone.
Lefty's up in testicle heaven.
Yeah, if you want to donate to Righty's lonely existence.
He's up there nutting in the clouds.
Oh my God. All right. Yeah. Super interesting. Just kind of continuing the lore of Brazil, Vintem Hill, that there is such an eerily similar case
Extremely
to this
similar.
very
unique.
Yeah.
The fact that this isn't lauded everywhere, that 4 years earlier in a very similar area, another person with a lead mask died on a hill in similar mysterious circumstances. I think it really does primarily point toward a larger society of scientific spiritualists that they must have been associated with each other. Not to be Skeptoid podcast, but it really does raise a lot more questions than it answers.
Yeah, it is super interesting. Seems like it is some kind of protocol. Maybe they were a part of the same collective. So Manuel and Miguel, they clearly did have instructions. I don't think they ever traced back, probably because it was like a well-known. It wasn't like a Masonic society. You know, it was like a well-known collective, but I haven't heard like, oh, this guy specifically gave them these instructions, you know?
It doesn't seem like there has been an identified leader, and there really hasn't been, for my needs, adequate investigation into what the scientific spiritualist community in Brazil was in the 1960s. Like, who was there, what they were doing, their activity, their member levels.
No clear leader that we know of. No clear specific person that gave Manuel and Miguel these instructions. It is possible that some otherworldly beings themselves gave them these instructions, and maybe they did end up making contact. Maybe it was a case of like their spirit leaving their body. And now they're, I don't know, in Mars, underground in Mars.
Now they're on they're on another planet with their aliens going, doing drive-bys, busting Gang Star out of the flying saucer.
Oh, what if they're like another world's like, what if they're in a zoo?
Oh my God.
That'd be so messed up.
That would be. That was supposed to be what the ending of like 2001 was about, I think, but really, what?
Oh God, highly recommend.
Are we just sitting around recommending 2001: A Space Odyssey now?
Well, we give recommendations occasionally. Highly recommend 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I feel like that's recommending Harry Potter. Like, recommending Dr. Seuss.
There's this, like, little book called, like, Harry Potter, maybe.
You haven't heard of it. It's pretty small. It's boutique.
But honestly.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Slaps.
Unless you're already kind of sleepy, in which case...
That's fair. Yeah.
There's extended sequences of spacewalking that I am obsessed with, but most people would probably snore to.
You know, so I believe at some point they definitely made contact or were close to making contact, were contact adjacent. I lean towards accidental in that the pills, the final capsules, were likely fatal.
Right.
But they weren't intending to die by suicide. I think that they knew something. They knew something about like a specific sighting or a specific being. They knew they had a chance to see them by following these instructions. Whether they were successful or not, we'll never know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on almost everything except that I think that they were just in a tiny headless cult and that the aliens hadn't really talked to them or anything like that. And they probably took too much. They might have been trying to commit suicide, but I think it's more likely that they got bad hallucinogens that killed them or took too much and it killed them or they died of exposure.
Can you overdose on hallucinogens? I
think there are drugs that are hallucinogenic that can kill you. But if we're talking about like
LSD.
Base level psychedelics like LSD, you can't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it makes sense if it was another drug or another cocktail.
I mean, I've never tried personally to get pure tablet LSD in the 1960s in Rio de Janeiro, but I'd guess it'd be pretty hard.
Yeah, that's fair.
The drug dealers in Rio de Janeiro have pretty weak Yelp reviews.
Oh my God. Him and his Yelp. This is unrelated. You probably want to cut this out. I saw Google said that over 50 people saw my 1-star review about your cancer center.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Fuckers. They make me wait for an hour. Yeah. How about your business fails?
They obviously, to me, also strongly believed that they had or will make contact. And I believe that they definitely had experiences that we haven't, especially in the hotspot that they were in, had seen some UFOs, and maybe they were picking up some crazy signals with some machines. It is a tragedy, obviously, and the hope is that they did not die by suicide, and they weren't, like, in a cult that recommended that. I choose to believe that it was pure aliens.
I'm gonna say no matter what, rest in peace
Mhm.
to two of the only fun electrical engineers to ever live.
True.
The world truly lost two gems that day when electrical engineers who are fun at a party to talk to
Yeah.
died on Vintem Hill.
And yeah. Well, you think you're cool?
Yeah, I'm pretty cool, actually.
I'm a Mechie. We have the best parties.
Uh-huh.
You're a nerd.
You double majored in two sciences.
In two Chad sciences.
Biology and psychology are not Chad sciences.
I'm a
If
Chad.
anything, engineering is the Chad science.
It's Chad Psych versus Virgin Engineering. There are a lot of Chads in engineering.
Yes.
That's true. Damn. Makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
But the parties suck still. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're not good. No, not at all. And to back up the fact that they were two fun electrical engineers, when they were creating the masts, they were making them out of lead pipe and presumably making a horrendous amount of noise. And their neighbor, like, peeked over the wall and was like, hey, what y'all up to? What are you doing there? Making a couple of sunglasses there out of lead pipe? That was probably not safe. And they were like, shut up, Dave.
Dave.
A giant cyclone's gonna hit the Earth in 1968 and destroy everything. So we're trying to actually save you, Dave.
What a nerd.
And then later that night, one of their wives walked into the garage where they were working, and they were both standing in front of the mirror trying on their glasses.
That's a great memory.
That's
to
really
have
cute.
of them.
And they're good friends too, because one tries on the mask. He can't see himself in the mirror, the other guy can see him in
It's
the
like,
mirror.
that looks sick.
You look amazing, bro. How do I look? You look amazing, bro.
Yeah, that's great. You know, rest in peace. Obviously, I have nothing but respect for the victims, and for the victims in all our past podcasts, if that hasn't been clear. Colin's laughing right now.
That's because I'm preparing to do my outro, and I think it's really gonna grind your gears.
What's your outro?
Believe in ball lightning, believe in yourself.
In your case, it would be righty lightning.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
he
fun.
has one testicle. Donate to our PayPal.
I've had to have a part of my body removed because it was trying to kill me.
Believe in aliens. Believe in yourself.
Good night. Have a good week. Have a good Christmas. Happy holidays. I don't know when the Jews are starting things, but it might be right now. So
I
have
think
fun
it
with
might
that.
be. Yeah. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays.
Adios, bitch.
Adios, perros.